he's way out of position. Like,
he's gonna have to force it, though.
I don't think he can.
Think it's even possible?
It's in the impossible range.
He's trying to make this, right?
I imagine he's going to take a stab at it. He's got such great control with these left to rights with his putter. See how aggressive of an angle he puts on this, or if he keeps it more neutral and just lets the disc drag over. He's going to need the shot of the century.
In 1975, my family had heard that the Los Angeles Frisbee Club would be starting at Oak Grove Park. This is after the World Frisbee Championships at the Pasadena Rose Bowl, which we attended.
It wasn't just disc golf. It was freestyle. It was DDC. It was all of these overall events.
Here's a maximum time aloft throw.
Well, what would be considered a good time in this event?
10 seconds, something like that. The world record's 15 seconds. There's a good one-handed catch.
And here, with the use of a good lower body, good wrist snap, and the wind, he throws it over 300 feet.
So we were all overall players. That's what we did. We got together, we did all of the disciplines in this club. Accuracy, there was distance, they had guts, they had ultimate.
And so the athletes of that time didn't specialize. For the most part, they played everything. And the whole challenge of the season was to get enough points to make it into the Rose Bowl.
This is Lynn Shackelford at the World Frisbee Championships at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California. With me is Dan Roddick, a former champion, now the director of the International Frisbee Association. And quite a crowd here today at the Rose Bowl, over 50,000. The bowl was over half full.
For people to come to a stadium and to partake, just to spectate Frisbee-related activities, to me, it's still mind-blowing all of these years later.
That was huge. That was huge. You look up and I was like, oh, my goodness. I didn't realize how many people were there until later when we saw footage.
That event, to me, didn't embody disc golf at all. It embodied just Frisbee. It was way before the era of disc golf. Disc golf wasn't a big deal. Disc golf had only maybe been in a park or two.
And it wasn't until much later that people specialized and just started playing disc golf.
Disc golf is the latest development from the fertile minds of the Frisbee folk. An 18-hole course has been laid out using the existing hazards of trees, bushes and buildings to create an attractive and challenging course. Well, let's meet the Frisbee golfers at hole number 3, which was designed to use the building and opposite bank as psychological hazards. It's Scott Zimmerman to tee off. Here's his drive. It's crossed the ravine and slides through the trees out of bounds.
It wasn't as much about the competition. It was more about enjoying this plastic toy that we all love to control.
It felt like it was the culture, it was the people, it was the community that kept them coming back for more.
And all of the different types of people that you could meet and all of the different types of cultures that can intersect with common love of a flight of a Frisbee, really, I mean, that's a huge piece of my love for this game.
That in itself was fun. I mean, that's when we started to realize that it was what we call Frisbee family. I mean, it was like a family.
New friends, new experiences, and a feeling of being a part of something that's growing. Whatever it is.
All of the different components and all the different disciplines, like we all have this brotherhood, this family togetherness.
Once you start playing, you're in the family. That's just the way it is. We didn't know what disc golf was. We didn't know. We just knew we were going to get to be a club and hang out together.
It really felt like that family atmosphere. And that's one thing that really hasn't changed.
It was community and just the enjoying the flight of a Frisbee together.
Nothing like the flight of the disc to watch amazing things, these shots.
It's almost like magic. The disc appears to be thumbing its nose at nature.
You could tell halfway in the flight how deliberate and how accurate and how, like almost mathematical the whole process was.
And seeing a disc come out of someone's hand on a hyzer release and flip the flat and kind of turn that right line and then fade back at the very end, to me, there's nothing better.
And it quite literally is beautiful when it's flying through the air. And I knew instantly that I wanted to become a master of the Frisbee.
In the early 50s, Fred Morrison spent his weekends convincing people that cake pans could make a good flying saucer. In the early 60s, Ed Hedrick was looking for a way to use all the plastic left over from the hula hoop craze. When Fred and Ed got together, a new craze was born. They invented the Frisbee. Yeah! How about that?
In the beginning, it was very simple. Ed started, well, first the International Frisbee Association, which he brought me out to run. He kind of unexpectedly left Whammo and was trying to decide what to do of the many things he could have done. And to our good fortune, he settled on disc golf.
He was a visionary and an entrepreneur. He would take these ideas and was always looking for the next step or the next level.
But Ed had a kind of an aspiration for, it was the Professional Disc Golf Association. When you joined, you were a professional right off the bat. There wasn't any reality to that. There wasn't anybody touring. Again, it was still the people we know. There wasn't anybody in the PDGA who we didn't know. Look at those first 200 numbers, and I can probably still name them all, knew them all.
So I think it was $20 to join, something like that. And, I'm a teenager. I don't have a job. To finally get the money to get my membership, when I finally got it, I received 2 discs, a 119 and a 141, and my name was written on there, and that was all. I played it because the bevel edge disc hadn't been invented by Dave Denapace yet.
Early disc golf was high profile, the same profile we used for everything, same thing that you threw back and forth on the beach.
To drive, to approach, to putt, that was it, a 119.
Of course, the technology and the courses are linked together.
Most courses were in public parks, so we shared the land with everyone else.
And it was only at Oak Grove where Ed was tight with somebody in the city and county, and then with Sports Chalet, a local sports company, that he got the okay to put poles in.
That drop in will give Mark Horn the world golf title over Peter Blur. Good round.
All right, well, we're going to tee off on the original hole 1. At least the tee pad is the original. The basket is not. And that is a dream shot. That is parked. Yeah, the first permanent disc golf course was 74 and it was poles. It was just orange, 2.5-inch, galvanized poles sticking out of the ground, painted orange. The original pin was, at least when the shop was here in 1983, the original pin was right here, which is only about, 20 feet from this big oak tree. And it was a really short hole. I mean, all the holes were really short back then because the plastic was just the Whammo 119s and 141s. And if you could throw one of those over 200 feet, you were throwing far. And then the discs have gotten faster, so we've had to move the baskets farther and farther away to make it difficult. Nope. Ed was experimenting with various capturing devices. He kept putting up something on a pole, different things. He had this device that came up on a pole, then he had wire, and he had 4 round hoops of metal on each side and one on top, and he had to end up inside. Very demanding, but he wasn't really satisfied with it. And he tried a couple of other things, and then he came up with the chain idea and really liked it. And it's really popular. I mean, they're making ads now about, what do you love most about this? The sound of the chains. Before Innova came out with the bevel edge disc, other people were starting to come out with discs. And Jan Sobel came out with the puppy and then the super puppy. This one, I don't know what that is. It's a dog on there, but it's a super puppy. There was a real popular one. They had a dead head on there from the Grateful Dead. That was a really popular one. And then Discovering the World ran a lot of them back then. These discs are just straighter than straight. So it just never changes its attitude. It doesn't go straight the way I tell it, but it goes straight. There it is. No, low, too low, but it's perfect flow. We play to this basket here, not here, but we play to the next basket, which is like 525 feet away. Now these young guys come up with this modern plastic, and they walk to this edge of the tee, and they throw it over all the trees. So I know Simon Lazat came here, and he threw one over the trees, and it flexed, and he went all the way back in the corner and deuced it. And me, I'm just throwing a roller, trying to get to those tables there so I can throw through and get a 4. Nope, it's gonna float out. See, watch it. It's just gonna plane out and go the other way. But I get to throw my super puppy from that one. I mean, this original course here, there was maybe one hole over 300 feet. And I won my worlds here with a 3 under. I think, I don't really remember. Oh, not even close. Ah! All right, I still got it.
The Oak Grove layout, we played, we went to Whammo, did our work, came back one evening, and there were people who we didn't know on the course. This is extraordinary because in all history, we had never played with anybody we didn't know. You knew everybody. And so here are these people playing our course. We're going, hey, what are you doing? Oh, well, we were here for the World Championship and we saw the poles were still here. And it's such fun. We're playing. And Ed and I are going, oh, wow, breakthrough.
I don't know how many people in the audience are going to remember the, what are they called? The dots, the ice cream dots, the ice cream of the future. Well, it was a joke, at least where I was from, that disc golf was the sport of the future. I would hear that, on a weekly basis from the early 90s. And you heard it so much that you kind of laugh at it. And you're like, well, I hope so.
I think maybe even in the early goings, we maybe had a glimmer that it had big potential. And so one thing logically led to another in that way. And so then when that infrastructure started to get in place very slowly, we were up and going.
Next thing you know, it felt like disc golf just took off. That's the one people really gravitated to. And Tournaments, competitions, legends of the game were then born.
Some of the big steps forward that really, even at the time, felt like they were big steps, the 2001 World Games in Occoopa, Japan.
In 2001, disc golf arrives at the World Games in Japan, a first step toward the Olympics.
My head about exploded when I heard about the Japan Open for the first time. I was like, what? At the time, I didn't realize that disc golf was even a national sport, let alone a global one.
The idea for any of our competitive players to possibly travel to another country just to play disc golf for the sport that we loved, that was growing, was exciting for everybody.
They treated us like we were professional athletes, and I'd never experienced that before. I knew I was a professional athlete, but you always kind of had to do this to say when you would say that. And so that was the first time that I had really been addressed and treated as if I was equal to any other professional athlete.
2003 was when the national tour was born, and that's when the PDGA said, let's take our most elite level events, we're gonna put extra media attention and focus on them, and we're gonna make them the most elite of the elite. And that was a huge step for the PDGA.
Ken Climo, Stokely, Ron Russell, all these guys go and compete.
As crazy as it sounded to some, they thought, there's a professional career buried here somewhere. I'm gonna run with this. And from there, everything just started to take off.
With a tournament certain to produce remarkable shots, none could be more incredible than Ken Climo's 1999 U.S. Disc Golf Championship, hole number 17, hole in one.
The person that dominated the entire 90s, Ken Climo.
He was the guy everybody wanted to be or everybody wanted to beat.
He was just a monster at the majors in the 90s.
Everything Ken did was about rising to the occasion and winning at the biggest tournaments. But when it came to the World Championships, to string together 9 in a row was, of course, completely unheard of and insane to be doing. Another incredible player that eventually came up to challenge Ken Climo, and he was one of the first, was Barry Schultz, who we knew as the guy no one ever beat in Wisconsin.
He is a remarkable player as well, and we did share the experience of going to the 2001 World Games in Occoopa, Japan. To be honest, he had no competition. He easily won, and by the time that it was mathematically impossible for him not to win, they just stopped his play.
Forever within the FPO field, it feels like we've had these eras of women and sheer dominance. One of the very first women that I knew of that had that dominance was Elaine King.
Elaine was a very kind of a student of the game.
And then eventually the torch was either passed or taken away by Juliana. And then next thing you know, she was stringing together world championships, and she almost seemed unbeatable.
Her 5th world title.
Back then, you could rub elbows with every single top player every time they came to your hometown.
If you didn't know them, you could go up to them, whether it was an autograph or a picture or just to have a chat about something else that was happening. It didn't matter.
I do remember the first time I went to a tournament and Ken Climo was there, and you could walk up to him and you could say, hey, I'm so-and-so. And at the time it was great because, you really do feel a part of it no matter what level you were playing at.
And so you were there taking it in, or you found out about it 2 months later in a magazine. We had VHS tapes that seemed like they took forever to get. Eventually DVDs came along. They still took forever to produce. They were just a better quality.
The expectation of when you would be able to watch that, if you got it by the next year, you're happy.
Those were some of our earliest days of disc golf media. And then finally, we ended up seeing the live broadcast by Disc Golf Planet in late 2009, 2010, sometime in that era.
Glistening from a distant galaxy lies a legendary site known to its followers as Disc Golf Planet.
Because I was so young, but yet such an enthusiast, and I thought, this is gonna blow up. This is the coolest thing in the world. Anytime there was mainstream recognition at all, I lost it.
That's the sound I hear in my dreams, the sweet sound of chains.
It's pretty cool, pretty fun, and it's free.
MTV Sports had a quick 3-minute segment about disc golf, and they had Scott Stokely in it, Bamba Rico, they had Steve Rico, the Lissamans.
Of course, I immediately fell in love. At the time, I was a punk rock kid, right? I was vegan, I had a mohawk.
Dan Cortez was the host in his bandana talking about this crazy sport of disc golf.
See, we had Tom's little brother, Mike, who he said, if you want to hang out with us, buddy, carry a Frisbee.
That, again, was legitimizing. That was saying to my friends, hey, I play this silly game. Look, it's on MTV. They're talking about it. And MTV ruled the 90s at that time, so that was a legitimate reference.
2003, we all went to The Price is Right.
Who's next, Rod?
Bob, it's Brian Mace. Come on down.
You're the next contestant of The Price is Right. He's a Frisbee golfer.
$1,250.
Ryan's bid is $1,250, and what is yours, Elena?
$1,251.
$1,251, Anthony.
Brian Mace was there. He got up on stage. He got to talk to Bob Barker for 3 minutes about disc golf before he spun the wheel. That's when we thought, oh man, we're going somewhere. Someone's going to see this. It wasn't any different than it is right now, aside from the money issues.
I got a nice 2004 Toyota Sienna, and there she is. I basically got this van kind of handed down to me for very cheap, and so I took the opportunity to set something up in there and just decided to basically use this for the year and hope it lasts all the way through. Kind of. It has 300,000 miles on it, so it's been kicking for a while. Any way you tour is hard, touring is hard. I think my first week on tour was pretty challenging because I think that living in a van kind of requires a lot of confidence. Yeah, I'm allowed to park here. I can just sleep right here. Random stuff like that if you're a normal person living your life, you might not have to make those decisions or do those things. The main building part was the bed. It's on a platform. You can't see because it's covered. There's my platform, and it actually folds up into a couch, which I almost never do, but I can do it right now so we can check it out. It definitely helps to win money at tournaments, and it definitely feels really kind of disappointing, and not only just disappointing, but your livelihood is on the line a lot of the times. There were certain tournaments where I played well at, and I was wow, this actually is changing the way that I think about my life. It takes a little bit of effort to get there sometimes, and some things get in the way, but it scoots. Lots of headroom on this guy. It's I'm not gonna be sitting up straight all the time. Yeah, you have low weeks and high weeks. I mean, now I'm on a streak of 3 podiums, which is really sick. And then before that, my game was feeling off. I missed cash. I was just living in a van and also trying to be a professional athlete. Having so much riding on that makes the mental game that much tougher. This one was originally a fruit and vegetable thing, and then I just didn't do that anymore and put Frisbees in there because I have too many Frisbees. Mostly it was annoying because it's in a bag, and I had an onion in there, and then the onion skin was shedding on me the whole time, which is just annoying. Normally I'll just sit here, eat my food, try not to spill it on my bed, live a life. Obviously I feel cramped sometimes, but not ever so much that I can't stand it. I'm definitely planning to stay on the road for the foreseeable future, and hopefully this old buddy lasts through for the rest of the year at least.
I think we were all kind of holding our breaths, hoping this is going to work, but expecting that it won't. Obviously, I become a pro at some point, but pro is more which division you're playing in. You're playing against the best players, not that you're making very much money at it.
Ken Climo was a professional disc golfer, but his profession was a contractor.
They were living week for week, and that's what I did for the first probably 5 or 6 years of out on the road, full-time traveling.
It was a good week if I brought in $400, and that's winning a tournament. I mean, they really did try to do it right. It's just the exposure wasn't there yet.
That's not an ROI for big money. It just isn't. And that was the challenge that we faced.
And that was okay. We never At least I never dreamt that it would be feasible, that would be something that I would want to do for a living. So then it was time to be a real adult and get a good job and step away, you know, and I had resources. I had a master's degree in computer science. So I was grateful for everything that I got from the sport, and I got more than I ever dreamed I would have.
In the back of your mind somewhere, you're like, are we ever gonna get there? You know, are we ever gonna be that mainstream sport? Are we ever gonna have the funds in this game, so to speak? You know, not sport, but game, because that's what it felt like to a lot of us out there. It felt like a game, a hobby, and I think a lot of people looked at it that way. It definitely blossomed into something, and I think media had a lot to do with it.
Now the best and brightest in sports, aka the top 10 plays. Where else are you going to see disc golf? The Memorial Tournament final round. Nate Doss teeing off hole number 1, 390 feet out. Throws it over the pond and bends it back. That is a hole in 1.
Doss was the first. I remember riding home in the RV from the Memorial and opening Facebook or something and seeing it just blasted everywhere. And it was huge. That's what it feels like. It's literally everywhere.
High school friends have, sent me a text message and say, oh my gosh, I just saw your sport on national news. So that was definitely a breakthrough moment.
And obviously Philo the Albatross.
Number 6, hey, look, I got the Frisbee again. Disc Golf Association. This is a 2016 Beaver State Fling. Philo Brathwaite second on a par 5. Yeah, a lot of movement on that.
That's a big chicken, right?
That is, yeah, no, that's the Albatross. That's even bigger than the big chicken.
Sometime in the early 2010s, we saw tournaments get more professional.
It was pretty insane, actually. It was kind of like, it reminded me of skateboarding, when skateboarding hit the mainstream and you started to see it on X Games. And it wasn't just a sport that the hoodlums did, you know what I mean? Or a hobby, whatever you want to call it. And disc golf had that very same feel to it.
I feel like we started to expand a little bit. And then we started seeing media outlets emerge.
All of these different production companies that are putting together fabulous footage so that we can catch up and we can be in on the action.
That has made possibly more difference than anything.
You saw people like myself, CCDG, eventually Jomez. You saw them all kind of emerge and have their own way to go out and capture tournament footage.
That's where you get these top sponsors to sponsor events because they see value in these videos that are getting hundreds of thousands of views. It was new, it was fresh, it was amazing. And I would love to know, I don't think there's any way to track it, but I would love to know how many people picked up the sport because of Jomez, because of Central Coast, because of these media outlets that are putting out that content.
And you could feel the weight of it a little bit. It means more, but it almost felt like it was being pushed. Like they're just telling you it means more, but really it's just the same old, same old.
Starting into the later 20 teens, it turns more into live coverage and Disc Golf Network and all this explosion of everybody wanting to go out and film. That's a turning point in the sport. And the pros are absolutely what's moving that needle.
And that's where Paul, that's where Paige, again, they come to mind.
Oh, ace! No way. Champion.
Here's, ladies and gentlemen,
Paul, big man.
when Paul and Paige kind of almost simultaneously, I'd have to look back at the records to see if it really was simultaneous, but it seemed like there were a lot of years that they were the two figures on the PDGA homepage.
When you have the big names that are winning tournaments, yeah, that's that right there. That's important.
People who are compelling to watch and are available to watch, and now you have the fans who want to watch them.
When you continue to win, naturally, your branding's going to go up and your star power is going to continue to increase. Whether you like it or not, it's going to go up. And that's exactly what happened for Paige and Paul.
2009 was that year that Paige went out on the road with me full time. 2 years later, she was competing for her first world title. She's won, I don't know how many events, but she's tied with as many world titles as everybody else.
Paige Pierce, ladies and gentlemen, and congrats to Paige. What a performance.
There's a lot of GOAT talk that goes on to the sport. Is it Climo? Is it Macbeth?
Tiger effect. He was someone to watch.
Because he is a phenom. Paul Macbeth is. Paige and Paul will make a significant mark in our history.
They set the tone for dedication to your craft.
When the lights are the brightest and the pressure is the highest, you know there's something special about that person. And we just happen to have one of those in FPO, and we have one of those in MPO.
2019 was something of an inflection point for the sport. 2 5Xs. You had Paul and Paige each winning their 5th world title.
Paul's big move from Innova to Discraft was a big deal in the sport.
Paul Macbeth has signed a 10-year, $10 million contract endorsement deal with Discraft. And wow, it's feeling like disc golf is having its, big pro sports moment.
I think his first contract, if I'm not mistaken, was 4 years, $1 million guaranteed. And I think after that first year is when they said, okay, how about $1 million a year for 10 years?
It felt like it was a good trajectory, and maybe it was a little bit ahead of its time, but I think that you have to do that.
European Open, massive. There were people coming out to watch.
When we had a crowd before, it was the people who had done playing their round and they came out to watch. And many of them are watching because they're riding with somebody who's still playing, so they can't leave. And we didn't draw from outside unless it was my mother.
2019 was definitely the year of the big, all right, maybe we are there. Maybe one more year, and then.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the tee of hole number 1 as we're here for the 2020 Waco Annual Charity Open. Terry Miller alongside our Pro Tour Director and Jeff Spring. And Jeff, a few moments ago you were also right here on the tee letting everyone know where things are at and what's going on right now.
I let everyone know, and I'll reiterate that we've prohibited spectators for the final round here. The decision was made at the start of this round, but then partway through, once things got rolling, the final decision to suspend the season by the PDGA was made, and that was after we canceled the final round here. So, this is kind of the last bit of disc golf that we're going to have for a little bit. There's really not another option, and we're just thinking of anyone affected by the coronavirus pandemic that's out there, and we're hoping to get everybody home safe and just assess day by day.
Waco Annual Charity Open had gone from 3 rounds to announcing that it was only going to be 2 rounds. And even during the second round, there wasn't going to be any spectators. We've been working all of our lives to get spectators to disc golf tournaments, and that effectively shut down the tour for the next couple of months.
At first, when I was watching that event and they're announcing it really felt apocalyptic and like, well, that's the end of it. The tour is gonna die and we're gonna go back to just local stuff. And, maybe when we get through this, maybe something will have to start up again. But, I thought that was a dead end.
Scary, very scary. But hearing that, hey, this is official. We're shutting down. The Disc Golf Pro Tour is stopping, which blew my mind.
Ultimately, the PDGA decided that we can't have a World Championships here because we can't get enough international competitors.
Not having a World Championships felt very weird to me because it's an event that I always looked up to.
We had to simply stop offering sanctioned events. Our entire job is to facilitate organized disc golf for happening for other people. We had to furlough some of our staff members, which was very hard to do.
Every touring player went home, wherever home was.
I was living in San Diego at this time, and we weren't even allowed to walk on the beach. So I didn't know that people in other parts of the country or other countries were flocking to disc golf courses.
So this is our headquarters building. Behind these doors is where all the magic happens. This is where all the discs and all the baskets and all the bags and everything we have for disc golfers is in this room here. Of course, when it's 5 o'clock on a Friday, there's not a lot of people here, but when COVID hit, we had no idea initially what it was going to do. In fact, our first concern was obviously for the health of our employees, the health of our country. Little did we know that while that negative stuff was going on for disc golf, it was going to be an explosion of proportions we never even imagined. We went from one aisle to this entire area. So this is where all of our blank inventory is kept, all of the blank discs that, if you're going to run a tournament and you want 90 discs for each of the players, we'll stamp them up here. And again, just the custom portion of our business, it slowed down at the beginning of COVID because no one was playing tournaments. But then once tournaments came back and we had this huge number of people that are new disc golfers that wanted to play tournaments, now the demand for tournaments has just exploded. There was a stretch there where we could have sold anything. I mean, any of the discs we had on our shelves that maybe were like slow movers, they instantly became hits. And suddenly we did realize that, this thing is, taking off and we need to get more discs. And it started this crazy progression that we've been in now where we are just still trying to keep up and get our inventory where we want it to be. If you go all the way back, both of these directions, this is all a lot of back stock that once we run low on our smaller stock up here, we then move it from these locations here to get it packed and then shipped. Our loading docks are all the way down on the end here. I can show you those. But when disc golf has success stories, it's like this rising tide, and we're all ships in the sea. And as the sport grows, everyone in disc golf benefited because of that.
Yeah,
I'm the president of this company, and I don't know where the judges are, but I'm going to find them.
There's this insane boom that took place for disc golf. People were finding a recreational outdoor activity that could either be shared with a few friends and family, or it could be done completely alone.
It's now like the one of a couple things that you can choose to do, as opposed to one of a million things that you can choose to do. It's like, I tried that yesterday. Okay, I'll try disc golf today. This is cool.
And we found out that if we could play in groups of maybe 2 or maybe 3, we could still play.
Families were looking for something to do, and word of mouth. Hey, what are those things in the park that we see? Let's go do that as a family. We can get out, we can get exercise, we can do this.
It's kind of proving us right that our sport is so cool that if you give it a shot, you're gonna love it.
We had this idea on the board that we knew where we were going to go in the next 3 years and the next 5 years. We are now where we thought we would be in 10 years. We went from 100,000 members ever in 2018 to 100,000 active members.
I mean, I remember when the first 100,000 PDGA member, the number came out, I was like, wow, 100,000, that's insane. And then it felt like a year later, 200,000. It's like, what?
We were unbelievably fortunate. They formed that base that we were missing before.
New influx of players, spectators, fans, manufacturers, all that momentum builds to the World Championships in 2021.
It just made me feel great. I'm sure my dad's looking down,
Ken Climo. For the 4th year in a row, Ken Climo, world champion of disc golf.
Finish out the week. There it is. He's our champion. And he did it in style today, boy. A brilliant career. A long run. Barry Schultz finally makes it to the top of the disc golf world.
there's just a feeling that is associated with winning a Worlds.
The Super Bowl, it's the World Series, it's Game 7. I mean, it's the elite event in our sport that every single one of our professional players dreams of winning.
Dynasties, legacies, eras, all defined and created, all based around the World Championships and the titles that are awarded there.
You know, it's just, the magnitude of that is, it's real. And I'm sorry, I'm lacking in words to describe it, but it just has so much more emotion and feeling. And back in the 90s when I won my first one, and after I did put my putt in for the win, I mean, then the mental dams were released, and I just fell to the ground crying.
It's pretty surreal, even, you know, sitting back and thinking about it to this day. It just feels, oh, I did do that, you know, like that's how much of an honor it meant to me to actually perform that week. It changed my life.
So to not have the 2020 Worlds, there was a lot of impact. Somebody couldn't attempt their first title, and people like Paige and Paul couldn't attempt their 6th world titles.
That just added to the anticipation. So I think everybody was just really clamoring for the biggest stage.
Who's going to make history this year? You know, and so there was a lot of wave riding into Utah last year.
Can I get you to do a clap for me, please? Sweet. Okay, Rob, let's get started.
Take one. Rob, take one. The fort in the world, the bid for Worlds went hand in hand. This whole vision took place in Jade's mind of the finish, of holes 16, 17, and 18 specifically, playing around the pond, very separating, highly dramatic holes that required precision, intensity, and were spectator friendly. I remember the first time Jade Sewell told me that he was going to bring Disc Golf World Championships to Utah. I thought, how in the world are we ever going to do that and get the courses in? Through his vision and his connections, and we were able to make it happen. So, with hole 16 in particular, it was always designed to be an island hole, produced a lot of 2s, produced a lot of 4s, and you can't beat the beautiful backdrop, and then, you know, you see the beautiful surroundings, and then you look down and there it is. Hole 17 has so many elements. This hole has the opportunity where you could make a mistake and easily lose the tournament on this hole or give up some ground. If you miss your line and you get it 50 feet kick to the right, 50 feet kick to the left, you're in trouble. I'm so happy that we got to provide our community and the city of Ogden this event and the showcase. And then somebody who came in from out of town just for that day said, did you know there's no hotel rooms within 30 miles available? And it was, again, because of the World Championships. So this is the MPO pad. It's a very complex shot where you have a water carry, you have tight tree gaps, and then you have the added funnel of the funneling OB to the 18th basket. It sets up for a finish, a change, that no lead is safe coming into hole 18. It's kind of fun to just walk it when it's calm and peaceful, and it's just a basket there. But with the fans, the stage, the cameras, the lights, the pressure, it all just kind of filtered. And that's, you know, that's what hole 18 reminded me a lot of, was a funnel. It was just everything funneled down to that green, all the excitement. You know, I looked over at Jade again and thought, wow, you know, your vision came to life. It brought legitimacy to us. It brought excitement. It brought energy to us. For me personal, I think next to the marriage to my wife and the birth of my 3 daughters, probably the greatest moment of my life.
Depending how long you'd been around, there was a lot of different takes on the storylines that would arrive to World.
The biggest storyline of the week was Paige and Paul, the 2Ps, right? I mean, going for their 6, both of them.
Yeah, I want number 6. Last year we didn't have a world championship, and I think it's kind of just added motivation to this one.
This would mean a lot to me, and you know, obviously I would be a 6-time world champion, and that would be the most winning FPO player of all time. So that would be very exciting. It's hard for me to really put into words exactly how that moment would feel.
Juliana Korver already has 5 world titles. Elaine King, 5 world titles. Valerie Jenkins, 4 world titles. No woman has ever gotten to 6 FPO world titles. So Paige certainly looking to cement her legacy as the first woman to ever get herself to that position. Paul, of course, trying to build on his legacy in that we've seen so few people ever become more than a 2-time world champ.
If I were a betting person, I would have put my money on Paige and Paul because I believe that they had the best skill in both divisions.
Emerson Keith had just won the warm-up event that took place at those 2 courses just a few days prior to Worlds. Katrina Allen, you know, she wants to tack on another title to the one that she picked up in 2014. You always have Wysocki, you have Eagle McMahon, you have Kevin Jones. Juliana Korver was back on the scene.
I wanted to be there. I wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to continue to be on this ride.
Far more fans, and the excitement was at a whole new level.
Worlds is back, and it's a whole new ball game.
Valerie, day 1, there's a lot of emotions. Everybody's feeling the energy and has been feeling the energy for a couple of weeks. What should we be looking for here on the first day?
Well, I feel like the first day is that you're kind of breaking the ice. You're getting into what you hope is going to be a week that changes your life.
You can imagine the heart is beating quickly here on the tee of 1.
And for the 11th time competing at the PDGA Pro Worlds, Paige Pierce will tee off, looking for her 6th title.
Plenty of anticipation. Day 1 of the Worlds. All eyes are on who's going to be crowned our next world champ. Paige, she comes out with a solid round, shooting at the fort. She shoots just a little better than the rest of her competitors, but isn't blowing anyone out of the water. You have Lisa Fakis, who's really been on the scene since the 2017 Worlds. She's there as a contender.
Great putt from Fakis.
Of course, Katrina Allen is still a viable contender, but not on the lead card.
Wow. Perfect shot from Katrina.
Meanwhile, over at Mulligan's, a completely different style of course. KJ puts up a solid round. Him along with Calvin Heimberg, I believe they both came in about 1 off the pace. But Ricky Wysocki
smashed that thing.
Right there, certainly in contention. And then somebody who steps out of the booth and onto the course to prove he's still got all the skills. Nate Sexton is out there and is one of your co-leaders after round 1 at Worlds.
Left with a birdie putt.
He has had those all day long.
Macbeth opens with a solid performance, but it somewhat unravels during the final hole.
Double bogey for Paul Macbeth.
1 bad hole?
Yep, 1 bad hole.
Doesn't find himself on the lead card. He's going to be chasing for round 2. Of course, we saw great play during day 1, but there was a significant distraction off the course. The conversation was largely based around where the practice facility was, who had access to it, and how it could be utilized for our players to warm up.
It looked like you got off to a little bit of a slow start, and then you really started to put them things together. Was it a matter of just getting comfortable? Was it shaking off the nerves? What was it that started coming together in the middle of the round?
Yeah, sorry I took your question then, I guess. Yeah, it was honestly, I did warm up, of course. I threw lots of putts and lots of drives into the net, but it's not the same as seeing your disc fly. And out here, not having a place to warm up really, put a slow start to my round. But and I was kind of feeling a little bit frustrated, honestly, for a little bit about that.
Located right next to hole 1, there was a driving range. And as golf patrons were utilizing the facility, we found that there was a little conflict with disc golfers that were trying to warm up. I know at one point, Brody Smith had gone into the clubhouse and basically wanted to secure the clubhouse for the exclusivity of the disc golfers to be able to warm up utilizing that space.
Most people like to actually throw some discs before a world championship round to warm up. And you have this beautiful, protected, because there's this big net around this driving range.
When we were awarded the bid for Worlds, we had designated 3 practice areas for mulligans. The high school, the borders the property, the park off of the borders hole 17 at mulligans, and then putting and driving into the net was going to take place on a section of the driving range. That was always the plan. We'd never really talked about shutting down the driving range, securing it. I wasn't sure that was even a possibility. We just had to go forward. We just had to do the best that we could do.
We still have some shortcomings. We're sharing space occasionally, whether that's with golf course and other patrons that are at a golf course, or sometimes that's in a public park. It's been part of our growing pains for decades. Going to day 2, exactly what you'd expect. Paige Pierce, open course.
Paige Pierce. That's a fantastic shot from Paige Pierce. Smash from Paige Pierce.
And cements herself a spot in the lead and on the lead card. See Lisa Fakis shoot well.
Lisa Fakis, and she gets inside the circle.
And Katrina Allen, who's won in Utah before. She comes up, plays very well. You see her on the lead card.
Katrina Allen looking for a birdie from circle 2. That is 3 in a row for Katrina Allen.
Calvin Heimberg, who is on the lead card, comes out with a great round.
Yes, Calvin Heimberg.
When it's all said and done, he ties himself up with Emerson Keith, who makes a huge charge from the chase card.
This is for his 5th consecutive birdie. Yes, he can.
Emerson comes off that chase card with the hottest round of the entire day and is in a tie for the lead. Paul McBeth, of course, hanging out there, right in contention also. And rounding out the lead card going into round 3, James Conrad. He shoots an incredible round, capped off by an ace on hole 16.
Oh! And what a shot. Oh my God. Incredible. Wow, hole-in-one for James Conrad. How about that?
By the time day 2 is wrapping up, the conversation has unfortunately shifted. The stage at Mulligan's provided a few discussions with regard to OB.
Let's look at the number 1, but she was laying up.
Oh, spot the land. Like you're literally when there is a line.
Another rules question.
I think I would say OB.
Well, the lack of rope on the, or paint on the edge of the bunker causing more issues.
It's unfortunate to have to deal with on such an elite level, but it was known going into this event. That is something that happens.
Of course, you see the water, you see the very defined cart paths, but some of those calls, including the sand traps, including the water's edge, can be a little bit dicier.
Definitely you could feel the tension between the players, the PDGA, the local staff. You could tell that, there were some things, you could tell that there were some complaints.
In day 2, we had a lot of feedback about the lack of defined areas in the bunkers. It was clear that Mulligan's was becoming, a trial court rather than a disc golf course.
So if somebody who's got a big voice or a big name walks up and there's a strand of grass underneath their disc and it's in the sand trap and they say, no, it's right there, it's grass, it's touching grass. I really doubt that the other players in the cart are going to stand up and say, oh, come on, that blade of grass is bent over and it's completely surrounded by sand. And they're going to get away with it.
We should have known better. The best thing to happen would have been to have all of those lines painted and in place prior to the start of competition. You're going to make mistakes and you got to own them. And that was a mistake.
Again, I want to touch on that everybody, at least here on the ground, meant well. We all were trying to make this the best World Championships ever.
After 3 days, we have several people that are all vying for the title of World Champion. We see Kat come out and perform as you would expect.
Well, this is about as big a pressure putt as you can have. That is huge.
Conversely, you see Paige Pierce falling off the pace just a little bit.
To maintain a 2-stroke advantage. High off the band.
Oh.
She missed it. The lead is gone.
Lisa Fakis right there in contention. Kristen Tatar, Haley King also vying for those spots right there on the lead card, or at least remaining in that conversation. In round 3, our lead card fell off the pace slightly. Wow. Ezra Aderhold, Mason Ford, number of competitors charging. Heimberg out there taking advantage. But when players arrived at Mulligan's on day number 3, they realized there was a little renovation.
I had heard some rumblings that there was potentially some intentions to go paint lines at Mulligan's. And we showed up to the course just as the sun was coming up, and there was lines. And we met with each of the groups. We notified that the OBs had been painted.
PDGA officials had gone out the night before or early that morning and then painted the lines. So they were answering the question and the concerns and criticisms earlier in the week. A lot of the players and competitors said, now you've altered the course, and they weren't necessarily happy with that solution either.
After 2 days of competition, folks on the ground, we were faced with a choice. Are we going to continue to allow the sport at the highest level, at the majors, to potentially be decided by whoever is arguing not necessarily the best, but the most stridently? Or are we going to, since everyone has played each course once, paint the lines for their second round at that course and remove the element of litigation so that players can focus on what they're supposed to be doing? And we thought on balance that the second way was the way that best preserved competition. It was without question a mistake to not have those lines in place beforehand. And it upset some people, and they had a right to be upset.
So during the tournament, I'm just trying to not have dehydration headaches and shaking my head at these things that are majorly blowing up in the face of the sport, and they didn't have to. None of them should have been a surprise.
There's so much negativity going around. I heard a lot of negativity from players. It just felt like, man, what a letdown.
We just had to do our best to continue with the World Championships and continue to put on the best tournament that we could and handle those situations. I think we ruled in the benefit of the players in almost every one of those situations.
You know, I'm still glad I'm here, and this is great, and I'm part of the world, and we'll remember how to do this, and it'll be better next time.
That's why we did it. People were upset, had a right to be. We had to make a choice one way or the other.
Despite any prior controversies or conversations about the course and the player amenities, these players are playing for a world title. They need to focus up, and they're heading into moving day.
It's moving day here at Worlds.
Anything can happen. Even if you're feeling like you're hitting every line, you're making every putt, that's what's going to make the difference.
After the 4th round, we see Katrina Allen in the lead, just one stroke, which feels like nothing at the fort, over Paige Pierce.
Wow, Katrina Allen, low, direct, perfect.
Lisa Fakis is also going to join the card, putting together a solid week. And then our Estonian, Kristen Tatar, joins the lead card.
Can't really do it much better than that.
Heading into the final round, Katrina Allen has one title, who's looking to double it. Lisa Fakis looking to improve on her best Worlds finish ever. Kristen Tatar, our only international competitor. And Paige Pierce, 5-time world champ. Lots of pressure, and the favorite trying to pick up her 6th. She's one down going into the championship Saturday. And so at the conclusion of day 4, moving day, there's no better person to move than Paul McBeth.
Philo, he's 1 under. He keeps just fighting back. He is this generation's GOAT. You as well.
Just like that, Paul McBeth is now tied for the lead. There's your new leader. We heard the cheers, of course, and Paul McBeth, he is now the leader.
Paul McBeth, 5-time world champ, one of the most dominant players in the last decade, gets all the way onto the lead card. In fact, has a 1-stroke lead going up against Kevin Jones, clearly one of the most refined athletes that we've seen join the tour. You've got Calvin Heimberg, the long thrower, trying to claim his first world title. And James Conrad, the long man, coming from Virginia, who throws a putter like no one else.
I mean, it couldn't have been written any better.
Both divisions look like they're going to come down to the last day, and they're going to be exciting.
As you'd expect on Championship Saturday, a slugfest.
Pierce knocks down the birdie putt. Katrina Allen, hyzer flip. Back and forth we go.
Paige, Kat, Lisa, back and forth throughout the entire round.
Bang! Paige Pierce takes the outright lead. Knocks it down!
Wow.
Paige Pierce! Who's going to come out on top? We're going to find out.
They get to hole number 16, and you see the big mistakes.
Pierce to the backhand. Last time hit the tree on the right side. Oh, and she does it again. She's OB. She's going to the drop zone.
Big moment here for Katrina Allen. Can she land inbounds?
To get over the sign.
Oh,
it doesn't.
my
She's short. Fakis to the forehand.
Love the commitment from Lisa.
And that sits down inside the circle.
Katrina, out of bounds. Paige, out of bounds. Lisa with an opportunity.
And now Lisa Fakis still with a chance to pick up one stroke on Pierce. And she misses it, chain out right. Oh, and she missed it again. Oh no, Lisa Fakis watching her World Championships chances evaporate. Oh.
This is reality, you guys. I mean, the pressure just got to Lisa Fakis.
Lisa Fakis puts it on the green, but can't get it done. She goes on to 4-putt and loses all momentum for her championship bid.
16, I'm still heartbroken over Lisa's trouble on hole 16. Lisa was still in it to potentially win this event. Then to see her have the trouble that she did on hole 16 and to know that she's not going to get back into it in 2 holes, it was just such a heartbreaker.
We'll see Pierce from the drop zone. She made it in round 3. Got it!
Wow. Oh my God.
Paige Pierce going for 6, burying the par save from the drop zone.
And taking the momentum with her all the way to hole 17.
Paige hits the putt from the drop zone. She's got a 2-stroke lead and all of the momentum heading into the final 2 holes of Worlds.
2-stroke lead with 2 holes to go on that course. That's pretty hard to overcome.
But even with the momentum, Paige goes over to 17 and doesn't play it clean.
Pierce goes off the tree on the approach shot.
She slips up. She takes the bogey. Kat walks away with the par. It's a 1-stroke game going into 18.
The green flag is up. Katrina Allen on the tee on 18, trailing by 1. Low line drive, gets through, perfect position for Katrina Allen.
Can Paige Pierce match Katrina on the fairway?
Round 1, she hit a tree. In round 3, she went out of bounds. In the gap. Punching through. She's safe.
That's a huge moment for Paige. Landing safe is the first step.
Kat had a good drive. Paige had a very good drive. And Paige is up by 1.
Katrina had to get up and down from where she was, which was not an easy shot. It was like a 400-foot turnover flexing shot with OB on the circle left side. I thought over. Game, set, match.
And it will be Allen first to throw before Paige Pierce. She's put herself in a position for birdie in both rounds.
She has pured this shot in previous rounds.
It's keeping it really high.
Needs to settle. Needs to settle. Safe! She'll have a putt from the edge of the circle. Wow. She pumps her fist. She's got a shot.
Paige Pierce has got to think clearly here. She just needs a par.
That is the decision from Paige Pierce.
She needs to get this close.
That needs to get up. And she has gone out of bounds. Oh my word. Paige Pierce has to go for this and really has to make this. Otherwise, Katrina Allen can lay up. Off the band, and she knows it's over. Unbelievable turn of events on the green by mere inches.
There it is.
And Katrina Allen walking to her putt. The champion.
PDGA Professional Disc Golf World Champion, Katrina Allen!
I'm still blown away by that turnover shot of hers. I wouldn't dream of trying to make that shot. So not only did she have to control that, it was long. Not many women could throw that turnover that far. I mean, that was a fantastic shot.
It was a do or die moment for Katrina. She stepped up. She knew that she would have to apply some pressure. She was the one with the one stroke deficit. So she had to make something happen. And with Paige in good position, it made sense for Kat to be aggressive.
She's so confident. I love that about Katrina. She's like, bring it. The trickier, the better. Bring it.
Talk about magic, disc golf magic. At the time I turned, I was like, this is going to be one of the greatest moments in disc golf. That's going to be one of the best shots in disc golf history that we just saw.
At that moment, when that big swing and Kat comes away with a win, and I think people were still stunned what just happened. Everybody was expecting Paige to walk that in. And I think if you had polled the audience, I think most people would say that that's one of the biggest surprises, most exciting finishes ever to be at a World Championships. And that has made the worlds, because now all you're going to talk about is Katrina's shot going around the corner. It felt like a turning point for the week, because it felt like now all the old stories are just that old. And this is what's going to be talked about.
That shot on Katrina, in my opinion, was the second best shot we saw all year long.
No real surprise to see on Championship Saturday. Paul brings his A game.
Looks pretty tasty. Oh, near ace from Paul Macbeth. Wow. Oh, that's a world champion shot right there, gentlemen. Paul Macbeth.
Putting the hammer down.
Doesn't look like he's going to give anyone else a chance here in the final round.
I think he's going to like this, gentleman.
Oh, yeah.
Dang.
Down and around the corner. 10, 11, 12. You know, those are tough holes.
Kevin Jones.
Yeah, beautiful putt from Kevin.
This is Jones for birdie. Dang, what did I tell you, man? Another
Huge
guy
putt,
that's
Kevin.
on that list. Get some, baby.
Yes. This world is amazing, you guys.
The level of competition is as high as I think I've ever seen it, guys.
They head over to hole number 16. It's tight.
Looks pretty similar, fellas.
And the check.
Huge shot. Huge shot.
James Conrad, can he muster up another miracle?
Another one. It's a great time for it. He's got this hole dialed. Hoping to go 3 for 3 in the circle.
Looks like a very similar shape. Let's see if it hooks up fast enough.
It's a little wider. Oh, and just sneaks it in around the wall.
Perfect.
And
give himself an opportunity to stay in the race here.
Kev throwing his A2.
What do you say, guys?
he's asking for it to slow down just a little.
Just too much speed on that. He'll head to the drop zone, and
that might be it for
Kevin. That might be it for KJ USA.
Oh! It's not going to roll OB, is it?
Don't do that.
I feel like the crowd told us it did.
KJ's dreams are crushed. It all ends there, finding OB twice. It's a two-man race. Macbeth and Conrad, both of them, playing nearly flawless golf. And again, after 17, we have just a one-stroke game. Paul's in the lead, going into the final hole.
Here goes Paul.
That's
gotta
stay
sit.
safe now.
Gotta sit.
Ooh,
Wow.
By the skin of his teeth.
He's in the corner.
He's in the corner of the OB. We're talking less than a disc.
Biggest tee shot of James Conrad's life.
Conrad going full send. That's not going to do, guys.
Paul's tee shot versus James' tee shot. James was way out of position. Sure, he could get up and down, but like getting up and down isn't going to do anything because Paul's in a position where he could get up and down relatively easy.
He doesn't have it.
He's got a
He's
putter.
got to lay up.
Yeah, he's laying up with a putter.
Well, he's forced to lay up, and then it's the decision from Paul.
James Conrad would have to throw it in from
here,
from distance, field days to push the issue.
It just felt something. It felt like something in the air, right? And I could sense something was about to happen.
It's a must do right now or go home.
And does Conrad, he's trying to make this, right?
I imagine
what do you
he's going to
think?
take a stab at it. He's got such great control with these left to rights with his putter or mid-range. He's a ways back, and he's going to have to still make the dog leg. He's got a lot of space out there to the left. We'll see how aggressive of an angle he puts on this, or if he keeps it more neutral and just lets the disc drag over.
He's using that envy again, so it's a putter.
And now it's Paul Macbeth. He needs a par for a playoff.
That's fine.
Going to the backhand and
That's
a
fine.
fantastic
Playoff.
shot.
Biggest shot of this man's life.
How many times have we said that today?
A lot. Talking to finally. Your world champion, James Conrad.
It's honestly hard for me to remember exactly how I felt.
Everything seemed like it just kind of went in slow motion.
It's still crazy to me. You know, it's been over a year now, and it felt like a pretty magical moment. I was lining it up. I knew what I had to do.
And I knew there was a chance that James could throw this shot in, but it was one of those moments in sports where it's like 99.9% chance this person wins, 0.01% chance that this person can tie or win.
Everyone knew that I had to make it to have a chance, and it felt like everyone wanted me to make it. And
I'm in that moment. James throws a shot in, and I could feel it. Like, I can feel the roars going through my body.
Still unbelievable to me that it went in, but just the coolest feeling ever.
My jaw dropped because I was like, this really just happened. This really just happened. Now all the pressure's on me.
I just like started jumping and throwing the hands up, and it definitely took a while for it to really settle in and register. And
just so wild to see this world and how it went down, but then see the media attention, the fans' reactions.
All of a sudden there's just thousands and thousands more people that are interested in our sport, that are starting to play and support disc golf.
I was happy for James to throw that shot in because I know it's bigger than the tournament that we were playing.
Right after we won, we were doing a little celebration dinner. It was pretty late night, so the only place open was a bar. And we were in the bar, you know, having a couple drinks, getting some food, and someone comes up and is like, dude, I think I just saw you on TV, like #1.
The PDGA Disc Golf World Championship at #1. Don't you dare call it Frisbee. This is crazy. James Conrad needs this birdie shot from 247 feet out to push it into a playoff, and he made it. He would birdie the playoff hole and win the Disc Golf World Championship. Congrats.
So the setup, first off, he's going into that hole down one stroke to a 5-time champion. He barely clears the water on his tee shot, and then he throws 247 feet with a 170-gram piece of plastic right in, out of bounds behind him.
PDGA Disc Golf World Championship. So, you know, Stanley Cup, World Series, whatever you want to call it for disc golf. Down by 1 going into the last hole. He threw in a 247-foot birdie.
Yeah.
Full crowd. It was insane. People went crazy, forced it to a playoff, and then he won the playoff.
He did.
He won.
If you don't even think it's a sport, watching this moment has to get you pumped up.
The pressure when you have live fans and just like a moment like that, you have to have ice water in your veins. You have to be an athlete.
It was something that I never envisioned seeing before in my life in disc golf.
It was insanity. I had to like sit there and stare at after the initial reaction. I had to like process.
The shot was impressive to anybody in any capacity to be able to see this flying around that corner.
A turnover, the most delicate shot that there is in the game. That was a very close approximation of early play, which was about that same length and that same speed.
I've heard people say that it's one of the best shots they've ever seen in a sport, not just disc golf. World title on the line. I mean, there was so much going into that one moment.
It's not going to hit chains and fall out. That's not the right story.
I remember exactly what I was doing, where I was sitting. I was supposed to be in a retirement party, but I'm there with my little cell phone because I'm waiting for that.
It felt like it was a miracle. It was a miracle for James, a miracle for disc golf.
You don't need to know anything about our sport to know how exciting that is. You make people fans for life with moments like that.
It's going to go down in history, as it should, because every time we watch it, every time I watch it, I want to watch it again.
That was a galvanizing moment.
The way Worlds ended last year was just, you couldn't have wrote that in a book.
I think both shots changed our sport. And I think they changed it. I think they both helped give it legitimacy to the outside world, and they propelled it to a little bit bigger stage.
It's grown the sport. I don't know if it's grown as much as COVID, because we wouldn't have been there without COVID.
You got to know how they got there. How they got there. That moment, the context of that moment. I like to think of the development of the sport as a fabric that we have woven.
Is when I see James's shot and think back on that day, that's a shot that's going to live in the history of disc golf forever.
There's a reference point that could be historic forever because of this clutch moment. It feels like a new era of disc golf is really what it feels like.
We are really, really hitting outside of our bounds now, and we're not pretending anymore. This really is as big as well as I would have imagined when I was younger.
These athletes are professionals, and this is their only focus. They're not the weekend warriors. This is it. This is what they think about, they eat for, they train for, they practice for, they travel for.
It's something that we dreamed about in 98, 2010, 2015, and now we're living it, and we've still got, we haven't even touched the ceiling, let's be honest. We're not even close to the ceiling yet.
I feel really, really grateful to be seeing this and to be able to still be young enough to be able to participate.
We spent years creating the sport, really, from scratch. And now it's time to really see what kind of sport this is going to be.
Where will we go? I mean, will we be that 80 camera world in the future? I don't know.
You set the bar, you're gonna have to continue setting that bar a little bit higher. And from here, I mean, there's nowhere to go but up, and there's so many more people involved in the sport, and I'm excited to just be on this ride.
I know that whatever's next, I never dreamt that it could be possible, and that's really exciting.
And what's going to happen in 10 years? Hopefully I'm still playing.
Nope, but it was close. Well, I think the shot, first of all, it was such a compelling event in the disc golf sport that it manages to get itself onto ESPN, which took it out to the masses. There's just nothing to compare with him throwing a disc out around all these trees and then having it plane out and flatten out and then hit that little teeny target in the middle of that small landing zone. And then the crowd just going ballistic and him running in to get it. It was awesome. And I think a lot of people got excited about disc golf just from that single flight of the disc. I think it's going to grow to things I can't even imagine. I couldn't even imagine this when I first did it. You watch these big ball golf tournaments, they've got crowds and crowds of people. I see that for the disc golf in the future because it'll be worth it. Because the flight of there's nothing to compare to the flight of a disc. And the shot has made more people aware of the sport. And that in itself is going to make people want to try it out, at least. And then if all they have to do is throw a few good ones, then they'll be hooked. And we're outside doing things that we love to do. And that's what I enjoy most about it. It's just being out with our people and spending time in the outdoors and enjoying playing with people. That's not ever going to change. And we'll do that till I die.
If you could sum up your contribution to disc sports, how would you sum that up?
I have the biggest family of anybody in the world.
The disc golf family?
I really do, yeah. It got me the biggest family in the world. So. Now you want to talk about what's in my bag?
well, Paul Macbeth, Huntington Beach, not too far from here. He's a kid, right? Big earring, diamond earring. They call him Pollywog.